Hello again. I missed you. Welcome to my storage room. So, I work from home, which is fabulous. I have a really cute office, a home office. I'll happily give you probably a tour of that one day. But I'm also married to someone who works from home, who is in a lot of meetings. So I can't really record while that's happening. And I don't really want to record at night. Obviously, there's lighting, but for me, more it's about energy. Like, I'm just so tired at night. I'm not a night person. I'm not a morning person. I'm a midday person. And so there's something about filming when you just want to have energy. So I figured this was a good time. I just had my tea and I thought I would do a little quick video break. And I've been thinking about this for a while. I was like, oh, I can use my storage unit. I'm sitting in like this little chair, which I actually got because my original idea was to try to use this space as a quiet place to record my podcast. You know, for similar reasons, I needed to do it during the day when I had energy and I needed to be alone. But there's, you know, talking in my house on the weekdays. So I bought, like, I have boxes everywhere right now. I bought like this tent and this like cute chair and like rug, and I was gonna try to make like a cute little place to record in here. I put my book on as a free audiobook. I'll link that down below. But anyway, I ended up batching in that whole thing and ended up just being able to find a way to do it and not using the space. So once I decided to try YouTube, I was like, okay, I'll try doing it here. So it's a little echoey. It's not perfect, but I think I'll set up maybe the tent and the rug at some point to like help with the echo. And then you might hear like, who knows? So you might hear some things, but we're here, we're doing it. It's really interesting because my first vlog, I decided to just pick up the camera. I was going to Spain, so it was like very exciting, travel energy. I knew what I was doing, had places to go, and now I'm like, okay, my goal is to film and publish 20 videos. That's my little experiment I'm trying, as inspired by the book Tiny Experiments by Anne Lore, by the way. I profiled Anne Lore once, and she's amazing, and it's part of what inspired me to do this, to have my own little tiny experiment and just do 20 videos and see how I feel and not put any pressure on it. So I want to do that. And I want to do at least one video a week. Maybe at some point, if I want to finish this experiment earlier, I may add another day, but right now I'm thinking Fridays. We'll see how that goes. So I thought, okay, tomorrow is Friday. So let's film a video today so that we can keep going. The last 2 weeks, so since Spain, the last video you may have seen, it's been about is it 2 weeks? Yeah, maybe 2 weeks, maybe 2.5, I don't know. It's been bad. Like, I just crashed so hard after that trip. I had such a great time, but coming back was really hard. I got really sick, but also I think the grief hit harder. There was something about being around people every day and in that environment that just felt so good. Like, and I always enjoy the retreats, but it felt different this time. And I think it's because I went from like such a low of feeling so sad working remotely without my dog who died in June of cancer, to then just having the energy of people. And then it was just such a harsh drop off coming back. A friend of mine and a coworker lost his dog right before the retreat, so he came a little later, and we've been talking, and he told me it was fine to share anything that we had been talking about. He's been such a help to me, and it's been helpful to go through the same thing because we're both, it was just, you know, us and our partner and our dog. So it was like this family of 3, and going from 3 to 2, and just talking through the different ways it's affected us has been really helpful. And in one of our audio messages today, I was just saying how, I was like, you know, I'm not a scientist. I was like, but I've seen a lot of research that says, you know, dogs release really good chemicals in us. It's why dogs are used as therapy dogs in hospitals and nursing homes. There's like chemical release of good feelings that happen. And, you know, it just occurred to me today, literally as we were talking, I was like, oh yeah, like those chemicals, that was like a part of my everyday life. And then one day that's just gone. And in addition to being so sad, you're like, you know, your body is also just completely, I think, you know, he talked about it just being like going cold turkey on something and just reeling from like that. It feels like physical, at times. And anyway, we have been talking, and I've just been talking to so many people about their different losses. And at the retreat, there are people who came up and talked to me about their pets or their loss. And it's just been a really beautiful experience for me to just share in that with other people. And mostly I've been so helped by other people and their stories. And it's so interesting because grief of all kinds is so universal, and yet your own grief can feel so isolating. And so I have found anytime I'm able to connect with someone over stories and just hear about their experience, and it's helped me so much. So I had no idea what I was going to do my next video on. So I was like, I'll bring my camera along to Spain. And then it's like, okay, well, now what? I'm not a travel blogger. I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. Actually, I will be going to England. I can't remember the last time I went to 2 countries in 1 year, but here we are. I'm going to England on a literary trip in like 29 days. So I will be vlogging some of that, but this is not a travel vlog channel. So I was like, I haven't, wanted to put too much pressure on this. So I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, I just know I'm a writer and I want to share my writer's life and just see what happens. And my goal is just to make 20 videos. So part of that is, okay, I've got to turn the camera on once a week. What am I going to talk about? So I definitely want to vlog it more, like take you to coffee shops. I want to go, there's this coffee shop that is also like a comic shop. So that's something I think I definitely want to vlog soon. So I want to keep going out because that's just been a really fun part of this experiment, because it's something I've never done before, and I want to keep playing with it because it's just kind of fun. So I was like, I'll turn on the camera today. What are we gonna do? And I got inspired by my friend as we've been talking about, losing our dogs. And I thought I would share a little bit about some of the things that helped me in the grief process, which I still am very much going through. So quick background, my dog Stanley, I got him in end of 2015, and in May of 2025, he was diagnosed with cancer, and it was very sudden. I had a birthday trip in Mayflower Inn where that inspired Gilmore Girls. Cannot recommend enough. Had a beautiful, beautiful birthday, and then came back and something was off with him that had never been. And it was something that was similar to like, just TMI, but like to a dog UTI, like we'd seen something like that before. So we went to the vet, that's what they thought it was. And then the medicine for that didn't help. And that's when we had to do more testing. And it was a lot of testing, a lot of back and forth, a lot of, gosh, I hope it's nothing more serious. Ooh, it might be a little more serious, but at least hopefully it's not, hopefully surgery can help, or hopefully chemo can help, or hopefully this can help. There was a lot of like hope and stress and unknown and uncertainty. And I'm still processing that part of it, to be honest, like the way that the like cancer diagnosis uncertainty experience, at least for me and my dog, like it just really shook up a lot. I was telling a friend recently, I was like, I'm having a really hard time looking forward to England, and that's been really weird for me because I may look forward to things personally. I'm always someone who, when I have something coming, like I'm a dreamer. I wrote a book about dreams. Like I'm a future person. I like look to the future and I get excited about stuff, and I can feel that excitement way before the thing happens. And I like that, and I choose that. I have very dear friends who like, that is not who they are. They don't think something's gonna happen until it happens. They do not like to get their hopes up. They don't want to get their hopes up, and that's okay. It's, I think anyone's choice. But all of a sudden I felt like that choice was taken away, and like I haven't been able to look forward to things, and it has been like another layer of grief of like, whoa, I can't even do that anymore. Like I have this dream trip and I can't access the emotions that I used to be able to access when I had something really exciting to look forward to. And I literally just realized like a couple days ago, talking to a friend, I was like, oh, I think I'm a little bit still reeling from that experience of like hope, disappointment, and just I'm like used to that, and having a harder time now looking forward to things in the way that I used to. I'm hoping that's temporary. In some ways, that might be changed forever on some level. A friend of mine did say it, changed for her forever, but like it softened. So we'll see. But anyway, the last thing that happened was in May, they said, his cancer had spread more than they thought originally. And then that's when we knew. They said about 6 months to live. So I really focused on, okay, it was really hard news. Like, we're gonna have this great summer. We're gonna really enjoy him. And deep down in the back of my mind, I was like, okay, well, 6 months, that's just an estimate. Who knows anything? He could live longer, And he died like 4 weeks later. And it happened really fast. He was doing really good because they gave him medication and he was back to his old self. And then it just, within like 24 to 48 hours, it was just, he was gone. And even knowing it was going to happen, having some heads up, it has been so far the worst experience of my life and the hardest grief I've ever experienced. And I frankly did not see that coming. I have lost friends, I have lost family members, I have been through trauma and grief before, and I've never experienced grief like this. And the only thing I can think so far is that I've never lost a loved one who I lived with, who was so much a part of my every moment of my every day, who dictated every day, every routine, so many decisions. And I always knew dogs don't last forever. I knew he wouldn't be around forever. I knew that one day we would have to live without him. So in some ways I thought I would be more prepared. And then I got a diagnosis where I did know that there was gonna be like a more definitive end sooner than I wanted, but nothing prepared me for how bad it was, or how horrible it felt, and how difficult it was to experience that kind of grief. I just didn't know it would be that bad. I couldn't eat in my home for a couple days. I did eat, but I had to go out to eat, or eat at someone else's house. I could not eat in my home. I couldn't walk into my home office for a while. There were, things like that, and just a depth of grief that I'd never experienced. A level I'd never felt. And so one of the things that helped me so much, well, I should say, there were so many things that helped me because people shared their stories and because I asked for advice. I was just like, I was really struggling. And while I knew there were parts of grief that, that I wasn't going to feel better, that you just had to go through and move through because, my dog Stanley was just such a beautiful, wonderful part of my life. And that's always going to hurt when you lose something you love. So I knew it wasn't just going to feel better, but there was like a level of coping that I was like, I need help, or like I'm not going to be able to sleep or eat or function. And so I asked for a lot of help, and I got so many great ideas from people, and also hearing their stories was so validating. And so I kept a list of all these things. And the reason that I did, well, one, I kept a list of everything everyone did for me that made such a difference, because I wanted to remember, so that when my friends experienced loss, I could look to that list and like remember what people did that really helped me. So I will share that as well. I'll have a link in the description. So everything I share here, you can just go to that and you can grab that with just a list of everything, so you don't have to write anything down. I won't talk as much about that. I'll do some highlights only because I want to share some of the things that I did that like you can control. I especially want to make this for anyone who is going through it or who has lost a pet that you really loved or really were connected to. Honestly, just as a way to pay it forward, because so many people shared these kinds of ideas with me, and they helped me so much. They helped me so much through truly the darkest and hardest time of my life, and I'm so grateful. And some of the things were like really practical things that made such a big difference, and so I thought I would share them. I wrote down on my phone, like I tried to pick, because I have so many things. And the reason, sorry, I'm all over the place. The reason I made a list in the first place, yes, I wanted to make the list because of ways to remember how I can help other people when they're grieving. But also I made the list because I'm a writer, and I've been having this feeling that I want to write a book inspired by this in some way. I don't know what kind of yet. Right now I'm thinking kind of a compilation of like mini essays, poems, that kind of thing. And so I started making a list because I envisioned in my head like one day I could see some sort of list poem. And so I just started keeping track of everything that like helped even a little bit. And so for this, I tried to look through it and say, okay, if I had to pick like the top 20, what would they be? So I thought I would just share them with you. I've shared a lot of this on Instagram through Instagram stories, but they disappear. And so I thought it might be nice to share in a YouTube video in case anyone else is going through something like this or knows someone who's going through something like this. And, you know, maybe if one thing on this list helps them, that would make me really happy because people really showed up for me and really helped me through this. And wow, I'm just so grateful. I'm so grateful. It is really beautiful, like when you share what you're going through or ask for help or advice, how many just wonderful people show up, at least in my case. And I like can't imagine going through this truly alone and not having anyone show up for you. So, okay, here are the top 20 things. These are in no particular order, but the first, maybe this one is in a particular order because it's like the first thing that helped me a ton, because our dog Stanley slept in our bed every night. So that was a huge comfort. And so I just could not sleep. And I'm grateful that I'm usually someone who doesn't have problems sleeping. So not being able to sleep, that really started to wear on me. And it was just so painful. It was so like physically painful. And so a couple people recommended, and I might have asked, I don't remember now, I might have asked like, I'm not sleeping, help. But I know a couple people recommended a weighted plush. So, and again, I'll have this list and I'll have links, like not affiliate links or anything. That's not this kind of video, but just in case it's helpful if you want to know the exact thing. This, oh my gosh, this weighs 5 pounds and I sleep with it every night now. And sitting it like right here sometimes helps me, like, frankly, just not have a panic attack. And it's been so incredible. Like, I went from just not being able to sleep and being in so much pain every night to just actually like being able to sleep. I don't know if I'll need this forever, but it has really, really helped me. It's pretty cute too. The other one was a wild grain box. So it's one of those subscription boxes. And they deliver once a month or whatever, you know, cadence you want of like fresh bread, fresh pasta. Well, actually it's like frozen, but it's par baked, they call it. And then things come and you put it in the freezer and then you can just take it from the freezer and bake it in the oven. And then it's just like fresh sourdough bread, fresh pasta. And so, oh, carbs. They had a macaroni and cheese and it was the first thing I could eat in the house. And that helped me get back to eating in my home. And it was just something also so comforting about having it arrive to my door, having something happy to come home to. That was also something that was so beautiful about getting mail and getting things delivered to my door, because the first few weeks coming home to silence was gutting. Oh my gosh, the first time I came back from a trip by myself and I had gone to see my niece and nephew, which was also really helpful. When I came back, I was like doing pretty good by then, and it was the first time I came back from a long trip. I opened the door and I'm used to my dog, you know, freaking out, running and like sliding and coming to just greet me with fanfare. That was the word I used. Like, oh my gosh, there was fanfare when I arrived, you know? And then there was just nothing. It was just quiet. And that was one of the big sobs. That was one of the big sob times where I just realized how great that was. However self-serving, you know, but how much I missed the fanfare of your presence, you know? It's so strange to lose that. So having fun things to come home to and just really good bread and pasta really helped. The other was a noise machine. The house was way too quiet. It was so quiet and it was so painful. So we had just a really simple noise machine with rain, and that was on 24/7 for maybe a couple weeks. I'm okay with silence now, but I couldn't, I needed the noise machine in the beginning, and that was a lifesaver. Taking time off work when I needed it was really helpful, and travel in the big way and the small way, going out to coffee shops, going to friends' houses, spent time with my niece and nephew. We ended up having a cruise because my husband turned 40 not too long after, and being on a boat in the middle of the ocean was really helpful. You know, I wasn't fully myself. Like, I probably didn't fully enjoy it in the way I would have had I not been grieving, but it was helpful to be around so much joy and to have joy. And I mean, it was a wonderful trip. And this England trip has been planned for a year, but my gosh, has it been helpful to have something to look forward to, even if I couldn't feel the looking forward to. It's been really helpful. I put countdowns on my phone and I look at them every day, and I just like, okay, try to get to that trip. You know, they say like not to make super big decisions when you're grieving because you're just going through so much, and there's some decisions I do need to make and want to make in my life, but England has been really great because I'm like, okay, just wait till England. You know you're gonna feel really good by then. Not that I'll be over anything by any means, but England is one of my favorite places in the world. I know I'll be feeling really refreshed, and I just know I'll be in a better mental state to make some decisions. I'm not planning on cutting my hair. Let's just say that right now that's not one of the decisions I'm making right now in my life, but I will say a couple weeks in, I got caught in a TikTok Bob, algorithm, and I was like, no, I like started thinking about it, and I was like, no, these are the decisions you don't make in this time of your life, and I'm so glad I didn't. Okay, truth, my camera just overheated and it turned off. We're learning. And it is a little warm in here. It's not like it's super AC. There's AC in the hallway. Anyway, you don't care. Okay, where was I? Working outside my house also really helped. I work from home. I work remotely. My dog was my coworker for the whole time I've had this job. And so that was really difficult. So I went to my mom's house. She made me lunch. I worked from coffee shops. I worked from a Disney World resort with a friend. Literally was in a serious meeting, and like, I didn't know characters came to resorts, but apparently they do. So at one point I was on a meeting and literal Pluto danced around and danced behind me. So that was a life experience. I ordered photos of my dog everywhere. I specifically did mixed tiles because it was super easy to just get pictures from my phone onto pictures, and I needed to see his face. Like, not seeing his face every day was like freaking me out. I was so used to it, and I don't have pictures of him up on the walls because I saw him every day. So I got those up pretty quickly. That was really helpful to me. I'm literally wearing this necklace. You won't be able to see it, but it has his face etched on it. I got that on Amazon. Basically anything customizable with photos, jewelry. I went nuts in the first month. I have a t-shirt that says Stanley's mom. That helped me. I just needed to cope. I needed to like make sure there was some part of him around to like just help the gradual nature of, make it feel more gradual. Now I get to see his face every day. I wake up to seeing his face every day and just in a picture, and that really helped me. And I probably don't need to say this, but just in case I didn't say it already, like, this is just what helped me. I am not an expert, and everyone's very different. One of the things on here, I'll just say now, was puppy yoga. I went to puppy yoga. I wanted to be around puppies. I wanted to be around dogs. Someone told me that when they lost their dog, they couldn't even look at a dog for a year, so we're all very different. And also some things we need at some point, and then the same thing that helped us, like, then all of a sudden can like feel hurtful, and you don't know. You just are doing the best you can every day and figuring out what you need and what helps and what doesn't. So just want to say that because I don't think I've said that yet. Okay, so one thing I did that I also loved is I read the book Finding the Words by Colin Campbell. It's a book about grief and profound loss. His loss was incredibly profound. He lost two of his two children in a car accident. A drunk driver hit them. He and his wife were in the car, and they lost their beautiful kids, and it's just gutting. And he shares so openly, and part of the inspiration honestly for this video is he just shared so openly about what helped. And it's just been such a good book, and I've read it in bursts when I needed it, and it's just been so helpful, and I'm just so grateful to him for writing that book, and highly recommend it. Obviously, I don't know what it's like to lose children, and I can't pretend to know what that's like, but his insight has helped me so much, even in my own grief period, even losing my dog. And from him, one of the inspirations was he talked about like telling people what you need and what you want, and how most people's instinct is like, which comes from a really beautiful place. It's like, oh my gosh, I see someone in pain. I don't want to make it worse. And I don't want to overwhelm them. They're going through so much. They're probably getting so much information, so many messages. I don't want to overwhelm them, so I'm going to give them space. And I think that comes from a really beautiful place. However, he talked about how to like break that, because often we do need support. We do need community, and maybe in different ways at different times. But he said, you know, tell people what you need and what you want and what you don't want, and that'll give them permission to then, you know, be a part of this and help. And so I just loved that, and so I really took that to heart. So on Instagram, I was very open of like, please tell me your stories, tell me about your pet loss, tell me about any loss. I'm like relating to breakup songs now. Like there's just, for me, I wanted stories. I also wanted dogs. I wanted them to know, send me the pictures of your dog, send me your dog memes, send me jokes. I want to laugh. Like I just told everyone what I wanted, and it was just so well received, and I'm just so grateful. And I told them as well, I was also very frank with all of my close friends, like, please tell me about your life. Tell me your problems. Tell me what's going on. Tell me what's stressing you out. Tell me what is exciting, what's going well. Like, I also didn't want anyone to hold back, because I loved escaping into their life, you know? And you might be different, yeah, right? Like maybe you don't want dog memes, or you don't want to hear about how good someone's life is right now. There's no right or wrong answer in terms of what you need or want, but sharing it was so great because it allowed me to like keep people close and allowed me to receive the beautiful gifts that we give each other in the hardest times of our lives. And like that was really beautiful to me. The day Stanley died was the worst day of my life to this point. And social media is not always my favorite thing, but I remember the end of that day scrolling through, and I was like, wow, it is not lost on me that the worst day of my life is the day that I have the most Instagram messages I've ever had, by like 100-fold. And I couldn't go through them all that day, but seeing it all there, knowing it was there, I felt so loved, and it was such a comfort to me. And when I was ready, it was so wonderful to go through each of them and feel so loved, and to be able to share in community with that. You know, for a dog, traditionally anyway, there's no funeral. There's no, way to sort of like be in community and go through this loss. So I really took it upon myself to like use Instagram and allow that sense of community to envelop me, because I knew I needed it, and I'm just so grateful that I have people who are so generous. I went on walks outside. I went alone as well as with friends. Those were hard because they reminded me so much of him, but I love walking. I love walking outside. It's one of my favorite things, and I didn't want that to go away. And so still doing the things I love to do with Stanley, even though they hurt, for me really helped. And it did get easier. The first walks were brutal, but they still kind of helped. It felt good to move. It felt good to be outside, even though it hurt. And then that's gotten better and better. Work was really hard because it was just so hard to focus in the same way I was used to, because I was just grieving and just going through so much change. It really felt like losing Stanley blew up my life, because it was such a part of my routine and such a part of my life. And it was really hard to kind of just like focus on work and on writing. I do writing for a job as well. I haven't been writing creatively much since Stanley died, taking lots of notes for maybe future writing, but I have still been writing because I have to for my job, and I've been able to do that. But it's harder. It takes more energy than it did beforehand, because I just have less capacity because of just grief. And so one thing I told myself that really helped was, I told myself, okay, I may not be able to do the best work of my career in this season. This might not be my best work, but it is my best. I am trying my best, and that's all I can do right now. And that might seem really simple, but as a type A perfectionist, that's not how I approach things. Typically, it is, I want everything to be the best thing I've ever done every time. And that mentality really sinking into it really helped me, because it still used the word best. So I kind of tricked the perfectionist in my brain. And I was just like, okay, I'm doing my best. I'm doing my best. And it's okay if it's not the best work of my life. I can't, it won't be. If I try to force myself to that, I'm not going to get there. I'm just going to burn myself out. And so I knew to get my focus back sooner, that mentality would really help. And it really did. And what's crazy to me is that we just launched a new homepage test that I was a part of writing. And it's one of the best things I've ever done. It's one of the best things I've ever written. And I'm like, oh my gosh, in the season when I was like, I can't do my best work, I ended up still doing some of my best work. So that was kind of cool too, that it was sort of a trick and it reduced the pressure. And I still ended up, performing well at work without the pressure and giving myself the mental space to grieve. Exercising with weights. I'm not a super gym person. I like to walk, but I just had this feeling of like, I think I need weights. I think I need to like really do something like heavy. And I mean, not really heavy, stuff I've done before, but I just had kind of slacked on. And I did that and just instantly I felt good. So that helped. I got a Gigapet and Tamagotchi. One of them looked just like the first Gigapet I ever had. I took care of those for the first few weeks after. I didn't need them after first few weeks, but it really helped me because like I was just so wired to like feed, take care of something. And then the absence of that, I just felt so unmoored, and having even just like digital thing to keep alive, it helped me. I had like 4 at one point dangling on my purse. And then just at some point I was like, okay, I'm good. I don't need this anymore. So that's been interesting for me anyway, to see like, to just go with those instincts, do stuff that I need and then let it go when I don't. I walked with a neighbor and her dog. I just asked her because we had become friends, and did a big walk with her and her golden retriever, and that felt so good, like so good. Even just to talk to a dog and have him react to me in that way was really helpful. I wrote down long hugs, which that's one of those ones that you can't necessarily control, but I put this because in some ways if someone hugs you, like just hold on, if they're holding on, hold on, and like let yourself have long hugs if that's your kind of thing. If you're a hugger, I had a couple really long hugs that I'll never forget. One of them was my mom. I hadn't seen her since Stanley died, and I went over to work and from her house, and she just hugged me for a long time, and I just started bawling, and I said, I miss my baby. And it was really sweet. I'll never forget that one. And the other one was one of the women who run our apartment complex. They loved Stanley. Anytime we walked by, they would come out and say hi to him. And I was getting something down there, and they were like, oh, how's Stanley? And they were in the office. I said, oh, he died, cancer, pretty suddenly, I think it was just a couple days ago then. And this woman like got out of her chair, walked around her desk, and just hugged me for a long time. And just like, it was a hug that you just felt like this person knows and is validating how hard this is. And that was just so beautiful to me, because there's just, I don't know, I just didn't know losing a dog would be this hard. And part of me just felt like, is this really that hard? Or am I just being over dramatic, There's just that little questioning in the back of your head of just not taking yourself or your pain seriously. I'm historically terrible at that. And it was just so beautiful. That hug just spoke so volumes to me. And so I just let myself be hugged, and she cried with me, and it made me feel so much better in that moment. And she told me, she said, I lost a dog 12 years ago. She said, and I still cry about him. She said, I cried so much for that dog. She said, I cried more for that dog than I did my father. She was like, and I loved my father. But it was just so comforting to have people just really honor that loss and just sit in it with you and hug you in it, and letting myself do that too, and not gloss over it and be like, oh yeah, I'm fine. It's like, no, I just let myself be hugged and let myself say, yeah, this does really hurt. And in some ways it was comforting to hear from people who said, oh yeah, it hurts 12 years later. It hurts forever, you know, in some ways, because in some ways that was also validating of like, okay, yeah, this isn't just something you get over, something you like, you know, go through. And one of the things that Colin Campbell writes in Finding the Words that also really stuck with me is that he talked about like taking the time to feel it, to sit with it, to be in community with it. Like that's actually your pathway to the joy and to actually being able to think about it with real joy of what you had and how good it was. And I found that to be true. Playing with a new creative outlet, YouTube. I usually write and it helps me. And I have not been able to write creatively since I lost Stanley. It's been really strange. I wrote a ton when he got cancer and the cancer diagnosis process. I was writing like crazy, poems, everything, expressing that. And then as soon as he died, it was nothing. And that was really strange for me and difficult because that's how I make sense of the world. It's how I communicate, it's how I express, and I just couldn't write. And so I got this spark to try something else, some other creative outlet to kind of at least get me through this season. And it's been really helpful. You know, even just the research process of like what camera to buy, you're just having something to focus on that was new, that was interesting to me, was really helpful. And in addition to trying a new creative outlet, also trying a new hobby. Now this one is not something I intentionally did. It sort of came into my life at this time and I just couldn't be more grateful that it did. So I have some friends that I play Dungeons and Dragons with, which is also a brand new thing to me this year that I never thought it was something I would do or like, and I'm obsessed with it. I love it. I have a purse that has all dice. If you want to know more about that, let me know. But they also started delving into Magic the Gathering, which is a card game. And I've never played a card game like that. The one most people know is Pokemon. This is, you know, I think on a whole other level than that, but it's the one most of my friends kind of like when they think card game, they're like, oh, like Pokemon. So if that's you, and frankly, it was probably my first reference too of like card game. Anyway, I didn't think I would be into it when they started playing or when they started talking about it because I heard it was really complicated and my brain was so fogged, and usually that kind of complication is not my style with games. Same with video games, I like a little more simple. So I was like, oh, probably not be for me. But the cards were really pretty and I started looking at them and I saw one, I bought one just to display it in my office. And I will show it to you. I don't know if it will show up, but this is this little frog and I have it on my desk. And the part that I loved the most that got me is they have these little quotes things that aren't part of like when you play it, but it's just kind of there. And it said, apprentice augurs begin their studies by predicting where the rain will fall. Even those who don't succeed derive great joy from the process. I just loved that. And I had to have it. And I was like, okay, let me learn, let me try. So my friend took me through there's like a booklet and you walk through it and it teaches you, and he helped me learn, and I was like, okay, I think I can do this. You know, still kind of tentative, but I was like, this is interesting. And I played my first game and I was able to follow. And then I played my second game and I was like, oh, I'm hooked. And then last weekend we went to a game store and literally sat at a table for like 3 hours looking at cards. So my friend is helping me make a bunny themed deck right now. You play with 100 cards and I'm so excited. I should be getting it this weekend. I really like bunnies. I'm like so excited. Just engaging my brain into something that's novel and new, and that like it just hit on something that I think has just really helped me in this season especially. And I'm just so grateful for it. Another friend of mine recommended making like a video of Stanley on my phone, like sharing on Instagram with music that you could like go back and watch anytime you want. That helped me a ton. I used the app InShot on my phone and I just found a bunch of videos, edited them together, and then putting them to a song that was meaningful to me was also like really cathartic, and being able to share that with other people. In the beginning, I probably watched it every day, every other day, and now I watch it like every few weeks. It's so nice to just have a really quick way to see him joyfully running around anytime I want. Another one was grieving in public. I'm not the kind of person who I didn't turn on Instagram and just start bawling my eyes out, but again, inspired by the book Finding the Words and Colin Campbell, he talked about like public grieving and honoring loss, and it inspired me to want to have those kinds of experiences as well. And there's no like funeral for dogs, and not that you couldn't do that, but that wasn't something I wanted to do, but I did. I talked on Instagram. I like shared about Stanley and what happened, and the full story behind it, and what the experience of actually losing him was like. And it just felt like what I would talk about if I was at a funeral of him, you know. And I have so many close friends and family on Instagram, and that was really helpful. And people's comments just felt like community. And so finding ways to grieve in public and not hide and not pretend that I'm okay have been really helpful for me, for sure. I am rewatching the TV show Everwood. It was my favorite show as a teenager. It's currently on Amazon Prime. And it has hit me differently this time because I've never experienced this level of grief that I've been going through. Just personally, I have grieved, and it's just never been this bad. I've never had this hard of a time with it. And so the show is just hitting me so differently in the best way, because at least the first 2 seasons, because I'm on season 2 now, are completely like about grief. And it is beautifully written, beautifully acted. I love Everwood. I could not recommend it enough. And I remember I started actually watching it when Stanley got cancer. I just needed comfort TV, and that's actually why I started watching it. And then when he died, I couldn't watch it right away. I will say that. In the first few weeks after he died, I only wanted really light, happy entertainment. I just couldn't go there. But then all of a sudden I like found myself just drawn to it again. And then it has helped me. I've always loved it. This is the first rewatch where it is so meaningful to me, and it has helped me so much in grief because the writing is so good and really touches on grief in ways that I knew on some level, but like it just hits different as I'm like in the thick of it. So I love Everwood. So the list of everything is linked in the description, and I'll also have that list, a section of everything that people did and sent me that meant so much to me. So I thank you just to everyone who sent me something. You did not have to. And it helped so much. People sent so many thoughtful gifts. I also have a locket with Stanley's picture in it sent by a dear friend, another necklace with a paw print and an S on it, and like I wear those all the time. Sometimes I wear all of them at once. A friend sent me Sultan straw ice cream, which was so amazing. That was another one of the first things I was able to eat in the house. And most of all, just people reaching out, and a simple DM of just like, I'm so sorry, and being willing to just sit in the pain and just talk about how hard it was. There was just not, I was the one who was like, am I allowed to feel this sad? Is this okay? Am I like, what is this really that hard? Should I be over this by now? Like, I was the only one who made myself feel that way. No one made me feel that way. And that was so beautiful. People, if anything, people helped me through that. They just really sat with me in that loss and just really validated of just what a loss it feels to lose a dog, people who had been through it. It was just such a, beautiful experience. I mean, truly, this has been the worst thing I've ever experienced from just like a physical and emotional pain perspective. But it has been also one of the most beautiful things I've ever experienced, because I've never felt so loved. And I know that might not be everyone's experience. I have really good friends, and I'm really grateful for them, and really great family. But my hope with, that part of it is, while we can't always control who shows up for us, we can control who we show up for. And so I hope that this maybe inspires you, if there's anyone in your life going through anything, that you feel inspired to reach out to them in some way and sit with them in their pain, or mail them something. I can just only speak for myself that it meant the world. And I hope I can continue to pay that forward, because unfortunately, grief is incredibly universal, and yet it is incredibly painful and incredibly isolating. And I think the way we show up for each other is like one of the few good things. I feel like the love of the people around me and even these little things like stuffed plush just help me get through the day. So anyway, I hope that helps anyone. Thank you for listening. Again, the list you can get down below if you would like, or you can send it to, or send this to anyone you know who might be going through something if you think this would help them, especially loss of a dog. So thank you so much for watching. And I feel like I can say this now because I'm going to post once a week, hopefully. So I'll see you next week. Also, P.S. It's too hot here. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna have to figure something out. We tried.